Good morning. How are you doing? This morning, we are going to be talking about our experiences with the implementation of Aras across Microsoft. My name is Krishna Srinivasan. I represent the Microsoft's Design and Supply Chain Business Technologies organization. I am a senior director. I manage the design, PLM, enterprise PLM, source, and NPI services across all of the devices within Microsoft. We have two objectives this morning. We want to talk about the Microsoft's vision, mission, and I'll introduce you to the history as to how we evolved into the implementation that we have going on right now. And then we will talk in detail about the Agile methodology that we used for implementing this. This is considered to be one of the fastest implementation in the industry around PLM. So without much ado, I really want to begin the introduction of Microsoft. This is the new Microsoft. Every great organization needs an enduring vision. Ours is here. We have one that suits our appetite. We have one that we'd be able to drive the objectives across the organization. We really want to find a place where we are going to be able to empower every person and every organization in the planet to achieve more. Perhaps the most important word here is every person, every organization. Maybe not. Empowerment. What does empowerment mean to you? Just simply put, it's basically providing people and organization with power. But does that really mean giving them power? No. The answer is very simple. When we really started looking at defining our mission, it was very clear and it was right in front of us. We want to provide the best of technologies, tools, processes, and systems to every person in the planet so that they can feel empowered continuously. They'll be able to achieve more continuously. That's our mission. So it's equal parts opportunity as well as challenge. When we are looking at the great set of information that we have in front of us, the great set of processes and technologies that we have in front of us, it's absolutely mind-boggling, and that's why it's an opportunity. At the same time, it's a big challenge as well. Perhaps the most important thing is the word planet in there. You may think it's ambitious. Yes, it is ambitious. We really want to empower every person and every organization on the planet so that they can achieve more. That's our long-term mission. Looking at the world view, there are primarily two areas that we are focused on. We are a mobile-first, cloud-first company. We today live in a world that's got ubiquitous computing across us. Mobile is basically a state of being. It's not a device. We are more intrigued from the perspective of mobility rather than the mobile device. Just imagine interchanging the mobile device that you have or even make it disposable. Just momentarily think about an opportunity where you travel, and the concept of mobility puts the equipments in front of you everywhere. You don't need to carry the equipment follows you, equipment is there, right there for you. So we are more interested in the mobility, the concept of mobility and the opportunity it presents. And of course, cloud first. Cloud is where the truth lives. Cloud is where the latest information associated with your devices and about you is available 24/7 wherever you go. So we are a mobile-first, cloud-first company, and that simply gives us a world of opportunity. That's our world vision. We are looking at interconnected ambitions. There are three main areas where we support. Particularly the organization that I belong, we are focused on three main areas. Those are focused on personal computing, creating more personal computing, reinventing business productivity and business processes, and be able to build the future from the perspective of an intelligent cloud. What do we really mean by these three things? This is basically setting the stage for Microsoft transformation. Yesterday, Peter mentioned about the digital T's, the third digital T being the digital transformation. It's also mentioned as the fourth industrial revolution. Over the course of next decade or so, there's going to be a lot of influence from these three areas, and Microsoft plays a vital role in all the three areas. I'm glad to say the team that we support are actually supporting all the three main ambitions that we have. And add to that the artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, and sensors. This gives us another broader set of opportunities. And that's how we view digital transformation. While Microsoft is trying to answer the opportunities around digital transformation, we also want to provide an opportunity. How do you look at digital transformation? How is your business transforming? How is your business model being digitally transformed? We have a model that we have been following for a few years now towards this transformation. So from that perspective, there are basically four dimensions through which we really start looking at. It's the system of intelligence. We are really looking at digital feedback loops. When we talk about transformation, there are four main areas. It's not only about the people, it's about the processes, tools, technologies, and information. We really need to look at it from end to end. A connected set of systems, system of systems, as mentioned earlier. So how do you really engage your customers? How do you really engage your employees and be able to optimize on the systems and processes, be able to transform the products and services? These are the four main areas through the digital loop that we view our Microsoft's transformation. Quickly getting onto the main topic, that's our new Microsoft and the vision and mission and ambitions that we have. I want to talk about the main topic today is Agile implementation of Aras PLM. So I want to really trace back a little bit from a historical perspective. We had a team center previously. We were supporting that from the perspective of core devices internally within Microsoft called the Windows Devices Group. And then quickly circling back to 2014, that's when we had finalized the acquisition of Nokia Device and Services. They were primarily using via DASO, and we basically had multiple systems that were supporting product data management. That's the very first challenge that we saw. And then when we really started looking at opportunities in aligning the business process and systems, we really felt that it was an opportunity for us to really start looking at the centralized set of capabilities. When we look at capabilities, again, people and the processes that they follow, the systems that we had, and the information that was flowing through those systems, we had in front of us a great opportunity. We were looking at about 7 or 8 product lines that were going to be aligned. We wanted to quickly get onto the situation where we are going to be standardizing these processes, where we are going to be standardizing the data flow, the digital thread that's going across from the perspective of engineering going all the way to supply chain. So that's the main objective with which we started this initiative. This was the set of products and the services that we had in 2014. From there, we have been continuing our digital transformation. Number of factors influence. There is a complex set of PLM processes that we had, multiple set of iterations of data, and the processes that were actually customized across the board, across the product lines. We have 7 product lines. For each one of the product lines, they had their own version of the product data management, the whole life cycle covering end-to-end. We had an opportunity to really integrate that. Our first step was to really start looking at the processes, the capabilities that were supporting those processes. We quickly found the opportunity to really start the transformation from that perspective. And we made a decision to do this implementation in an agile manner. We felt that the methodology that we had originally used, the traditional waterfall methodology, would not be working here because we wanted to deliver working software fast. So what were the primary objectives with which we went about this implementation? Acceleration of design collaboration. When we say that, it's not only internally within Microsoft, it's collaborating with the external partners as well. Both those were primary objectives. How do we really streamline the processes? How do we really streamline the systems, the collaboration capabilities from the systems, both internally within Microsoft and extending beyond the partners and the vendors that we have? Establishing the core foundation was obviously the basic thing around data and the processes. As I said earlier, 7 different product lines, 7 different processes, and multiple systems, legacy systems that were customized to the extent that we could not get to the latest version available in the market. So that was another opportunity for us. And then at that point in time, we had multiple manufacturing models. We wanted the PLM system to be supporting multiple manufacturing models as well. End of the day, traceability of data, be able to drive that engineering bomb going all the way from what was designed going all the way to what was built and serviced. So we wanted to have a system that could track that as well. By doing all this, what is it that we really wanted to achieve? First, improved product quality. We really make premium quality products. You saw it in the video. We really wanted to drive towards that. And then the second main objective is to really have the seamless customer experience. In our case, we look at the internal engineering teams, the partner teams, the collaborating teams that we have in front of us, how they are having the experience with the PLM system, how they are able to launch the products and services faster. That was the second objective. And primarily by doing all this, we were directly contributing to the gross margin and the improved revenue growth for Microsoft. Those are the 3 main business outcomes that we are driving towards by having these objectives. Accelerating innovation with Agile, there were 3 main things again that we were focused on. We wanted to be able to deliver working software on a continuous, iterative, and an incremental basis. We had that opportunity in this effort. And iterative improvements. We cannot really, we thought about the analysis that we had, understanding all the requirements. We really did not have the time to do a detailed level requirement analysis. We have a product in front of us. I'll quickly go to the history around how we did that, but we have a product in front of us. We really want to make that available to the end users, be able to make them start using the platform, be able to improve upon that iteratively. That's the basis on which we built this. And then it's a continuous interaction. Yesterday, one of the speakers also mentioned this. It's a collaborative effort between the technology organization, the business teams, the engineering teams, and the partners. We took feedback on a continuous basis. That's very important for us, and we have been able to improve upon the quality of the platform continuously on an iterative basis. Those are basically the key drivers around how we did this. When we look at the end-to-end set of capabilities, these are the 3 main areas around core engineering, product data management, and how we make, sell, and care for the products that we have. And how we build that product quality internally within these set of capabilities, how we build that seamless customer experience, that's what we were primarily focused on. We also felt that it was easier for us to group them into these 3 main buckets around managing the core platform, the portfolio around design engineering, developing the core platform around product data management, and then delivering it through the whole supply chain. So it's an integrated product lifecycle management platform that we are looking at. Our initial objective, though, was just focused on the central blue boxes. Those are the capabilities that we were looking at. But we have an extended set of portfolio right now. We are looking at the end-to-end product lifecycle management services. And not even that, we are actually going upstream and downstream. We have integrations, both those directions, going into the ERP platform and be able to extend some of the capabilities within PLM to our partners, specifically on the collaboration front. So those are the capabilities. So 2014, we started this effort with the acquisition of Nokia Devices and Services. We took three main areas from the perspective of how we define the core set of objectives, as we discussed earlier. And then we did a very detailed evaluation of the vendors. We were able to square in on Aras Innovator as the platform because of three main reasons: scalability, agility, and the speed at which we are able to release the product. So that was the main reason why we chose Aras Innovator. We are in the process of implementing. We have done the first phase of implementation within 8 months. So last, not this year before last, 2016, we launched the product, minimum viable product of the Aras Innovator platform within 8 months of the start of the effort. We had done a lot of work in understanding the business processes, how we want to really standardize the business process, and then get on to the actual technology implementation. Actual technology implementation took us less than 8 months. So we are really happy from the perspective of implementation that we chose Aras, and we are able to build on top of that. Adopting Agile methodology as is, managing the business objectives, aligning the business objectives and the business process is a key for us. So we spent between 4 to 6 months in understanding the objectives, understanding the business processes, and aligning them across all the product lines. As I said, multiple processes, multiple systems. We had the opportunity to align the process first and be able to implement the technology faster on top of that. And then working closely with the stakeholders. It's one team. It's not business, it's not technology, it's not IT and all that. It's just one team. We approached it as one team from the beginning. And vendors. I specifically want to mention Aras Consulting. They've been great partners in helping us implement this as well. And Peter and his team, from day one, they have been a great partners helping us implement this in an agile way. So thanks to them. So the leading technology, leading standards, everything we adopted out of the box. Whatever came out of the box from Aras is basically what we implemented in MVP, and we were able to standardize those processes across all the 7 product lines. When we say 7 product lines, it includes all the consumer side as well as the commercial cloud business that we have. So again, this is the success story that we have. I will hand off to my colleague Boris Kononets, who's the Chief Product Owner, to take us through further on the roadmap.
Great. Thank you, everybody. My name's Boris Kononets. Within our team, I'm considered the Chief Product Owner. How many here have that title? Oh, there's a few. So it's an Agile definition that basically says I try to look not only short-term, but also long-term, how and where we are going. But also one of the key things is we have to be able to adjust. Business dynamics, customers, needs, wants are changing all the time, which requires us to get very creative on how we strategically align the different deliverables. As you've seen, and even in your implementations, you have to do certain things first before you can get to second things, and third and fourth. So while we're doing Agile implementation on a very frequent release cadence, we still had to understand where are we going. Not all the time is the road straight and narrow. We do weave. But one of the key things is to make sure we're hitting the objectives, business requirements, and delivering the business benefits that they need to do the work that they need to do. And this is not only just within the design engineering space. This is design, our supply chain, and even our partners and how we're working collaboratively or trying to deliver better products and services to our customers. So this is a key thing within when we started this implementation was that we had to have a roadmap. Now, was this easy? No. Did we do it right the first time? No. We had to learn. We had to try. We had to experiment. Lots of stories. We'll get to, in the end, a little bit of our lessons learned, which will help you explain what things we've learned, and we continue to learn as we go through this process. So what do we mean by how we did this? In the traditional model, done a few implementations in my time, typically the big bang. Write up requirements for 3 or 4 months, do coding for 6 to 12 months, and then test and deploy 18 months after the fact. We knew right away, given our condition, situation, merger of the handheld devices into Microsoft, and how fast the organization was trying to move, that was not going to work. So we basically said we have to rethink, and so we actually brought in some sprint Agile coaches. We had Aras Consulting, we had our team, as well as Krishna has stated, we had to involve our business. And this is where it gets a little more interesting. One of the things you start to hear is that this is another flavor of the month. Scrum Bam, everything lean, everything's just like, oh, they said, oh great, another vanilla, another thing we have to do. So we had to show them that there was benefit in how we were going to work differently, which also meant we had to learn. So one of the key things was we had to explain to them that we're going to be delivering things in pieces and over time delivering some of those capabilities in full and then augment them over time. So you're going to hear something called an MVP or a minimal viable product. At that point in time, there's enough meat, there's enough there for them to actually use the system and the capabilities that was there. And then after that, you'd be adjusting depending on prioritization, key needs, basically changes in the strategy, or even in the product roadmaps that we were able to adjust depending on what we had to deliver. And that's how we did it over time. So we were adjusting on a very frequent basis and then maintaining our roadmap to deliver those core capabilities over time. And this was an important piece. So we were delivering initially on every 2 weeks. And what I mean by that, every 2 weeks, code went into production where somebody could actually use it. We're currently on a monthly cadence because, ironically, the business said, wait a minute, you guys are changing so fast, we can't keep up with you. So currently we do it on a monthly basis, and that seems to be about the sweet spot. You've heard some parts of our organization deliver code to production every 24 hours. So there are some extremes depending on how you want to deliver these typical functions and features. One of the key things we had to identify right up front, we knew, because not only was this a cultural shift, us learning a different process and methodology, but also our business, was that we were probably going to run into situations where business process of one organization and the other are not going to necessarily want to co-locate and co-mingle. So we had to set up some kind of a governance model, and this was key. So we basically said, hey, we have our teams. They meet on a regular basis, have our Scrum teams meeting, going through their Scrum agendas, roadblocks, delivering the user stories that we need to light up those features. But one of the other things, too, was that sometimes not everything was going to be meshed and everyone's going to be very happy. So we established what we call a steerco, where it met on a weekly basis to go through those decisions, looking at the pros and cons, what's the benefits, what's the drawbacks, and then making executive decisions on a weekly basis so that we can keep the wheels turning to deliver the capabilities. Not in all cases was everything even decided there. Sometimes we had to take it to what we call our governance board. So these are our senior executives in the organization where we had to make a significant decision to basically say, either align on this, here's our options, and here's our recommendation and why. so that we could get those type of things resolved and agreed upon holistically across Microsoft. So again, if you have this already, great. If you don't, recommend you have something similar to this to help those teams get moving along. So Christian had talked a little bit about this in the sense of our timetable, and this gives you kind of a snapshot in when we started our journey here. And basically what we did is when we actually started to actually, quote unquote, implement Aras, we started on March 1st of all things, and we basically immediately started to do development. And what I mean by development, I actually ran a sprint team. We had business users, stakeholders, developers on my team, and we were literally every single day gathering requirements, changing things, the next day looking at live code in our environment. So this was giving you an idea that the business was going, hey, wait a minute, this is a little bit different. So we're not sitting there writing a document, writing requirements, drawing up all this stuff. We had to basically show that we could configure the tool. In some cases, had to extend it. And then in other cases, we had to actually customize based on what we had to do. Now, was everything going to be able to deliver it in a day? No. There are certain things that will take time. Something like access definition, that's fairly complex. And all the different regulations and rules, and as well as the internal requirements, takes a little bit longer. So you had to do some process definition. And this is where it's always interesting. Most organizations will say, it's technology is the problem, let's fix technology and we'll take care of it. The issue is no, it's typically process and people. Fix those, then worry about how the technology is going to work. So we had to do a lot of what we call process sprints to actually go through, define what the process is, try to determine what is the best process to align to, whether it be an industry definition or best practice within the specific space, and then be able to implement those. So that was the core capabilities that we had to build out. As Christian on the prior slide there showed, the dark gray or dark blue was basically where we were trying to focus. So delivering all the core capabilities around change management, document management, part management, bill of material management, release management, to be able to get all that information. And so we had our first MVP by October. So we had selected specific product groups that had projects that were able to onboard to this brand new platform and basically start to do their day-to-day work. So right there, that's a pretty fast timeline to go from literally install software on a server for the first time, and then basically in October, we already have product groups using to deliver new products. So that was our key milestone, was to show that we were able to deliver that quickly, and then subsequent releases into the early part of FY16, we migrated all the rest of the product groups from our legacy system into Aras, and what we call One PDM, and then we did the same thing with phones shortly thereafter. And then now, we still continue to release new features, new functionality on a monthly cadence. And if you hear something like something called user stories, typically this is that more detailed definition that we can deliver. Not uncommon to see 60 or 70 user stories delivered in a month. Now, how do you do that? You have to be very good at not only defining those user stories, but understanding and having that participation by the business stakeholders, the IT, and all the different management to align to be able to deliver that. And that's the beauty of Agile that we've learned. Are we good at it? Yeah, we're pretty good, but we're not great. There's a lot to learn, a lot to get better at, and basically as we continue to evolve and grow and change our teams, this is the beauty that we've been able to deliver and show the benefit and the outcomes to our organization. So I alluded to this in the sense of what some of the benefits were. We've definitely accelerated our rollout. Compared to where we were before, we are way, way faster. So we're seeing things delivered on a much, much stronger cadence and more predictive. We can actually start to say, estimating and getting a little bit better on that capability based on the platform, how long it's going to take to roll that out. When we first started, this was the interesting piece, is that By the time we went to develop to push it through UAT into our production environment was taking quite a bit of time. And now you can see that we've improved our processes, improved our tools, so literally we can do all these updates literally almost by a push of a button. And so these are the kinds of things that you learn over time, is that not necessarily is just delivering the working code good. You actually have to do your processes, how you do your code management, how you do your code deployment, how you do automated testing. And those are things we learned later on that we had to go back and correct and improve. And so what this has done is it has significantly reduced how we do data and management. So one of the things we had to do is get CAD data into one PDM and vice versa. Not uncommon to see a 6 to 9 month roadmap. We had to do it in less than 3 months. So those are the kinds of deliverables that we are now able to achieve, including our integration with SAP, and as well as our integration with Ariba. So we can do all our sourcing, cost management, RFX process all in the cloud. So this gave us some additional capabilities to be able to adjust based on what the business was delivering to return a significant benefit to our stakeholders. So this is where we've been able to continue to evolve and change. And what we're also now seeing is the cost savings. Because we don't have all these different systems and tools to manage, we only have one, it makes it a lot better for us. We've actually gone full-fledged upgrade already. And the best part was it was done in less than 3 months. So this is ability for us that we've never been able to do at Microsoft, which is to take a system and do a full upgrade and to have it fully tested, regression tested, and be deployed within 3 months. Our prior systems, we tried for years and could never get them upgraded, and multi-millions of dollars to try to do it. So big difference in comparison we've seen on how fast we've been able to improve this, and this is a testament to how the Aras platform is built. The other thing too is something called adoption. Users don't necessarily like things complex. They like it somewhat simple. So one of the beauty was that we hear over and over sometimes when we introduce users to the Aras platform, go through our process, they go, wow, this is actually pretty simple. I get it. And that's another thing too. And that's what helps us get into the thousands of users that traditionally are not your power users. You're not your engineering team. You got your marketing, your sales, your finance, your supply chain users that now want to get data and see data and can now get into Aras and actually see that information. So that's really helped us get that adoption up. One of the other things too is that now we're able to do more and more and more over time, is that we have the amount of time and effort, because some of it's configurable, gives us a lot more ability to deliver those capabilities faster. And building the various correct architecture, be able to connect our systems using our REST API layer, gives us that capability. So now we're able to connect, I don't care what CAD system you're using or what ERP system you're using, we basically have a way to communicate and get data in and out. And that gives us that ability to basically build that solid foundation to be able to now move out further upstream, further downstream, and get those type of systems set up.
That product went through 55 revisions in Aras Innovator. Thank you, Aras. We have some lessons learned.
So what we'd like to do is Christian and I will kind of walk through some of the lessons learned that we did during this journey, and we continue to go and still continue to learn new things, but this kind of gives you an idea of what we've learned using Agile and how we've done the rapid deployments. As it was spoken earlier, one of the key things is obviously participation. This is not one of those ones I want to show up for a half hour in a meeting, sit back and just point fingers. They have to be engaged. They're actually using the system. They're actually participating and meeting on a regular basis. And one of the things that we had to find out was that they had to be engaged and fully involved, which actually in some cases meant those stakeholders and subject matter experts had to be removed from their day job and put into the team full time. So that was some of the definitely a strong lesson learned, was that this is not a part-time, partial involvement. You have to be fully committed and fully involved. And then definitely with our stakeholders and our governance to manage these issues, alignment across all the different business groups that have been able to get us to a point where we have one change process, one release mechanism, one way to create bombs, irrespective of the product within Microsoft.
Something that we learned early in the beginning was to really put in place structures around the process, how we govern, make the decision-making process. That was critical. We really wanted to put that in place, and we did that first. And then that's the basic foundation for running this in an agile manner.
So another thing too was to really focus on what we want to deliver as that outcome. So a lot of times you're just saying, well, I'm delivering a capability, but why? What's it driving? What's it improving? What's it going to help the business to deliver, or do your product higher quality, faster, more reliable to the customer, meeting the customer needs as we change. So this was really important for us, was to say a lot of times, why am I working on that feature versus that feature? So we're able to say, well, if that feature is going to deliver X amount of business outcome versus this one, well, we should prioritize that one higher. And so that was where it was really important to have that involvement, because we had to actually understand what's the delivery, what's the best part about that. The other thing too was to actually work across the different groups. Even within Microsoft, the size of Microsoft, we had Xbox, Surface, HoloLens, Cloud and Enterprise, all the different groups working together to understand not only how each group worked, but how all the other groups, and to find out that a lot of the same problems existed in both places. Yeah. So how do you work through all those? How do you align that, work through those processes? And even some of the Aras guys will tell you, we had a few dragouts. We had a few very, very tense moments of meetings. And that's okay, because that shows you the passion. I heard that word already this ACE conference. Got to have that passion to work through those.
Yeah, particularly the processes. When we talk about the business process around the CM2, there was a lot of discussion around how it's embedded into the system, how we are going to be leveraging that, what kind of changes that are required, whether we can use it as is or we need to change it. A lot of conversations.
So another thing too we learned was Agile doesn't necessarily mean no documentation. That's one of those good manifestos. It just means that there's maybe not so much documentation, but we did learn the more documentation we had, the better we landed the sprints with the capabilities and features that we were looking for. Partially because you can use that documentation for your organizational change management. How you do something today, how you're going to do something tomorrow is good to explain to your user base as well as your customers of the tools. So that was an important aspect that we learned, was that not just to create the basic story with no information, no process flows, no documentation, no screenshots, high training material. Those were all very critical. And then basically what we really wanted to do was to make sure that we had that information for the users at their fingertips. So we actually created online short videos, online training materials that they can complete at their own time, on their own, when they're able to, so that they don't have to come to, quote unquote, a classroom to learn how to use PLM. So this gives us that ability to be able to quickly onboard more and more users as we need.
Organizational change management was one of the key things as well, along with governance, stakeholder management. OCM was a big thing for us. We put in place a lot of structure around understanding the requirements, be able to drive the change on a continuous basis, be able to train. We have a substantial amount of users, and we train them in batches, be able to onboard them on a continuous basis. We are still doing that across all the product lines.
Another thing too we learned was not necessarily was every single thing going to be a Microsoft way. We actually tried to use some industry standards, CM2 rules, the engineering change process, quick release process, looked at those different capabilities and said, can we use what is being used already out in the industry. If it's not something special, doesn't add any significant IP, then why not? So those are the questions we started to ask, and how we wanted to do the different definitions within the system. So that also helped us speed up, because it was what the organizations, a lot of our partners already were already using, so why should we be different? So it does give us the benefit as we move designs inside and outside of our organization, we're able to communicate a lot more efficiently with some of our partners. And so this allowed us to get a little bit better adoption from our users, because now the subject matter experts were actually communicating with us and for us back to the teams. So this actually gave us an ability for them to be the missionaries, as they say, to go back to the business groups and say, hey, this is the reason why we decided to do this, and here's the benefits you're going to get of it. So what did Agile really do? It really increased our importance of collaboration and to work across multiple teams. Just to give you a size of scale, so when we were actually doing the initial implementation, March of 2016, we actually had 9 sprint teams comprised of anywhere from 5 to 8 team members. So that's a pretty good sized team to try to manage and collaborate and keep everyone organized and marching all in the same direction. So it was important for the product owners, the scrum masters, our architects, our dev leads, myself, management, to make sure collaboration was consistent, constant, and timely, right? We didn't want to wait until something bubbled up to be an emergency and then have to address it. So we wanted to make sure communication was constantly going on. This also improved how we wanted to make sure we get the feedback. So when we send out feedback, it was immediate. It wasn't like wait a week for an answer and then come back. So the whole intent was to set those ground rules with our stakeholders, our subject matter experts, that this is an iterative process. It's almost near real time based on some feedback. So this is one of those things we had to learn, was that it wasn't a meeting, write up notes, and then wait a week to get back together again. That was not the intent. And so those are the kind of things we had to learn, as well as just to have a common language. What do you mean when I say this? And that was also a revelation, was that what you think you say or what the system says may not necessarily mean what the users think. So that was an important piece, was to set those ground rules, understand your terminology and your data dictionary of definitions, and that helped us get the ability to deliver the capabilities.
Add to it the complexity of a global organization. We are in 3 major continents. We have the core corporate strategy organization sitting in Redmond, and then we have a development team sitting in UK and India. So being able to coordinate across all the sprint teams, across time zones. We literally connected time zones through the sprints. And that's the beauty of Agile implementation as well, and how fast we're able to do that.
So one of the other things too we really learned was that when we were delivering these capabilities, it was really our assets. It was our services, our core capabilities, and we really wanted to treat it that way. It is our asset that is delivering to the business, to the organization, and to our customers ultimately, in delivering high quality products that they want and they really love to have. And that's really what we're trying to embrace, to be different. So even though technically we may be thinking internally as stakeholders, our design engineer and our supply chain, ultimately what we're trying to do is deliver a good product and service to our customers. So that was really a core capability that everyone wanted to learn, was that what we're doing is an important asset to the organization. And really to drive this whole discussion and things you hear about is making the right decision at the right time with the right information. And so this is really important, a driven thing that we're trying to get within the organization, get the one single source of mastery, and then federate it where you need it, so that those that can collectively mash up the data can make the right decision at the right time, versus wasting weeks or days looking for information, how to collect it, how to interpret it, and then basically end up to make a decision.
We have a white paper on this same exact topic. The link is right there. Maybe one more click, I guess.
Yep.
That's on MSDN. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Again, thanks to the entire team, the Aras consulting team for the support through our implementation. Thanks to the entire team that supported us.
Yep,
with
thank
this.
you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.